Hi students, I am Geeta Suresh. I will be just going to talk about this e-Pathashala, Ergonomic Task Analysis and Risk Assessment at Workplace. The study of this particular concept is more interesting for designers. You'll be wondering why is it for designers? Let me start with the most quoted ergonomic advice to designers and students and then go ahead with the theoretical explanation of the content. Every good project starts with a task analysis and ends with a user trial. What do you mean by this or understand? Here the task analysis refers to the formal or semi-formal attempt to say what the user is going to do with the product, service or the environment. The second half of the statement deals with the user trial. That's an experimental investigation where the sample of people test a prototype version of the product under controlled conditions. Let's start the objective of this module, how we are going to carry on this entire module. If you are able to understand the concept of ergonomics and its importance at workplace, to know about the relationship between man, machine and environment, and if you are able to understand the risk factors at workplace and the importance of ergonomics and risk assessment, let's start with the introduction. What do you mean by ergonomics? Ergonomics is a word coined from Greek. Ergo means work and nomos means natural laws. The study of ergonomics is a multidisciplinary with a combination of physiology, anatomy, medicine with physiology, engineering and psychology combined. Let's understand what's the meaning of ergonomics. The science involved in designing of the workplace is known as the ergonomic process. A designer, while working on the workplace process, should keep in mind the capabilities and limitations of the worker, workplace space and the employer setbacks. The systematic ergonomics plan in the improvement of designing the workplace will remove the risk factors involved at productivity level. What is goal of ergonomics? There are three goals which the discipline of ergonomics addresses when dealing with the analysis, design and management of man-made systems. One is safety, second is comfort, and the third one is a well-being. It's very clearly understood that to achieve this goal, we need to have these three most crucial elements of ergonomics. One, man the worker, second, machine the work, and environment, the workplace is the third most important. Okay, let's understand this ergonomic triangle. What is an ergonomic triangle? You could see the relationship of the man, the worker, the machine, the work, and you could see the environment, the workplace. How does this have an interrelationship? Man, the worker, at its capabilities and liabilities. What is a capability and liability? A man at a time could work to a certain level which we put it up as a capability and the liabilities or limitations of an individual. When you look at the work or a machine, what are the work and a machine? It is a work area, the physical exertion, the psychological, and it could be the fatigue. How a fatigue could be created? It's because of the limitations and the capabilities. The next triangle, if you see at the third part of the triangle connectivity, is the environment or the workplace. How an environment or the workplace could have an impact in the ergonomical concepts of an individual. How? It could be one is a physical, the other one is a psychological. Physical could be the heat produced at the workplace or an excessive cold, which we call it as a thermal comfort, or when we call it up a less lighting or a more lighting sources and a ventilation. If there is no ventilation in the work environment, it's going to add to the workers' disturbance in physical and the mental activities. And you could see there is an inner red triangle which again has a connectivity with the man, machine and the workplace. That talks about again the you could see the product, you could see the workplace, the task, and you could see the way of working, how a person works into it. That is again what we call it up as the inner build of your work triangle or the ergonomic concepts. Now we could understand each one of the man, machine and the activities, workplace environment. What is a man? Man, the worker. Every individual has his or her own limitations with the body characteristics. Using few criteria, these qualities can be assessed. As I was telling you earlier in our work triangle, how a man could work based on his capabilities and limitations. How that capabilities and limitations could be assessed could be due to anthropometric dimensions, body composition, physiological and psychological fitness. What is an anthropometric dimensions? That's the body height and weight of an individual. Body composition, the weight of a person or the BMI, how an entire body size is being composed of. Physiological and the psychological fitness, how an individual is being well fitted for that particular work. This is the most important three criteria when we are going to assess. This assessment helps in understanding the human capabilities and limitations while assigning the task. The mismatch between the capabilities and work nature leads to serious risk factors in terms of physical and mental problems. Let's look at now the second one, the machine or the work. The physical work leads to fatigue and tiredness, whereas the mental and automation work leads to more stress related issues. Both physical and mental work are to be assessed for the risk factors like postural positions, design of tools and the equipment. Let's look at the last one, the environment, the workplace. The environment of the workplace is the one of the most important source responsible for stress originating. The physical factors like heat, ventilation, lighting, noise level, thermal comfort and psychosocial factors relating to interpersonal relationship. So let's look the criteria for task analysis. The factors considered for effective task are functional efficiency as measured by the productivity, task performance, etc. How a functional efficiency could be done? The productivity. As we were talking earlier in the ergonomics triangle, the productivity could be increased by the capability and the limitations of an individual. If the limitations is less, we cannot increase the productivity. So we are going to consider how each individual's functional efficiency could be increased, enhanced, or it could be at a level of limited activities. Ease of use. What is ease of use? A person should be able to work at their work environment in a very comfortable position. That's what we call as a ease of use. And the comfort is, it includes the environment where we were talking about earlier, the physical conditions and the mental psychological relativity. The next comes the health and safety. When we are talking about the work or the machine, health and safety is one of the most important for each one of the workers, how to sustain or how to work into their task assessment. Next comes the quality of work life. If psychologically a human being is happy and satisfied, the quality of work life will definitely be improved. What is an ergonomic assessment? Ergonomic assessment refers to workers' capacity and workplace study. It ensures that a worker's workstation is ergonomically designed to maximize productivity with minimal risk injury. What do you understand by minimal risk injury? When I'm working onto it, how much of my physical discomfort is happening? This is what we are going to measure at it. How can you understand this ergonomics at workplace? As you have understood, the ergonomic science is to the design work tools to fit workers' capabilities and limitations of the human body. It is the moral responsibility of the employer to provide a safe work environment free from hazards and ergonomic risk factors for his employees. Why it relates to the employer rather than an employee? Yes, because when a workplace is being designed, it is a moral responsibility or a duty of an employer to give his employees the best. If he gives the best to them, he gets the best productivity from his employees. So that is one thing which, when they are working to design, they have to make sure the entire workplace is safe from hazard and it gives a maximum comfort to the employees. Let's look at the next part of it. Ergonomic problems result in productivity, efficiency, quality, and safety problems. Jobs and tasks that are frustrating, uncomfortable, or inefficient are typically not ergonomically correct. What do you understand? Why do we say that? They are not ergonomically incorrect. It could be because the place is not designed as per the work for what it is to be done. How to improve the results in productivity, quality, and safety improvements? How this could be done? An effective ergonomic improvement process seeks to identify and eliminate any deterrent to maximum work capacity and limit worker fatigue and discomfort while improving process efficiency and productivity. How could you reduce the worker fatigue? It could be, as we were discussing right from the beginning, it could be about the workplace, more comfortable, the machine could be suitable for the worker, and what is the limitations or capabilities of the worker. All three triangle has to be worked and given the importance and the consideration. Let's consideration of our workplace. What are the factors? How do you study about it? Let's look now that fatigue and poor anthropometric fit as main contributing factors that help to reduce performance effectiveness. What could be the fatigue and what could be the poor anthropometric fit? Any design done for a person to work. If a chair is designed, the chair, particularly if it's for a computer workstation, how it should fit the particular human being. And we cannot expect for the entire human to get into the perfect fit. So we are going to design whether at least it could satisfy a 50 to 95 percentile of the individual to give an effective performance. That is where you are going to design the poor anthropometric fit. The next one we look is the ideal seating, is one in which the sitting position loses all awareness of the seat and his sitting posture. When I am going to work, if my concentration is fully on my comfortability of my positioning of sitting and how could my effectiveness could be produced in the work. So this is where, as a ergonomic students or a designing students, you are going to give importance how a furniture or how a workplace should be designed. By unconsciously we should start working with a comfortable position. Let's go into what are the ergonomic risk factors. Risk factors related to work activity and ergonomics can make it more difficult to maintain this balance and increase the probability that some individuals may develop a musculoskeletal diseases, which is commonly called as MSD. How do you assess that? Sometimes you would have heard, if you would have been working on a computer for a long time, you will be complaining of your wrist paining, your numbness in your fingers. These are all the musculoskeletal diseases which could be developed at the workplace. The height of your table, the positioning of your laptops, all this involves into the assessment of the risk factors. There are three things usually targeted for elimination and reduced. What are that? You could look here. It's the high task repetition, forceful exertion, and you could see that sustained awkward or poor posture. Let's now look at each one of them, how it affects the individual in the designing factor. You could see the three factors. Now let's look at the first one, the high task repetition. As the name itself tell you very clearly, when there is a repetition of activity, even when something is easy and seen relatively effortless to do once or twice. It can be a strain on the body when it should be done many times over a short period of time without the rest. For example, while working on harmless activities like using the computer, mouse, or typing on a keyboard in an awkward angle, the same style of innocuous factor is observed in factory assembling line productions, where you could observe that the same motions is repeatedly used again and again. A job is put into the factor of elevated risk repetition when the cycle time is in 30 seconds or within 30 seconds. Majority of the activities, you could see that the cycles are repetitive in nature and need to be frequently controlled by hourly or daily production targets and work processes. High task repetition combined with other factors like forceful action or awkward procedures can contribute to the formation of MSD. The formation of MSD is the balance between local soft tissue fatigue and the ability of an individual's recovery from fatigue. The excessive fatigue could be controlled by getting adequate supply of blood to perform work of soft tissues and helping sustain metabolic balance. Let's look at the second factor, the forceful exertion. What do you mean by that? Lifting of heavy loads in manual work to the vigorous efforts in pushing or twisting involving the whole body or smaller body parts like the wrist when turning a heavy knob or the level, all involves the force. These work tasks needs high force loads on individual body, which results in increased muscle efforts and lead to fatigue and muscle related problems. The musculoskeletal disorders do not occur only due to one activity. It could be the combination of the forceful exertion done repeatedly. For example, perhaps turning the dial doesn't require too forceful an exertion, but when done repetitively, the injuries happen. Let's look at the last one, the repetitive sustained awkward postures. What do you mean by that? Sustained poor postures is the most common risk factor and perhaps the best well known. Awkward postures place excessive force on joints and overload the muscles and tendons around the body. And you could see that the joints of the body are most efficient when they operate closest to the mid-range motion of the joints. So risk of a MSD is elevated when your joints are worked outside the mid-range cyclically or a few sustained periods of time without adequate recovery time. What can be done to minimize these ergonomic risk factors? Just I would like to give you the factors. Identifying them is the first step. Then a job redesigning or environment adjustments have to be made to minimize or eliminate these risks. Exercises to build better strength and stamina, and learning to take the necessary rest break to recover from muscle fatigue. Eliminate or reduce awkward postures with ergonomic modification. It's a maintain a joint range of motion to accomplish work tasks within the mid-range of motion positions for vulnerable joints. Proper ergonomic tools should be utilized that allow workers to maintain optimal joint positions. Job rotation and job task enlargement is a way to reduce repeated and sustained awkward postures that can lead to MSD. Providing safe and effective procedures for completing work tasks can reduce the MSD risk. Removing excessive force and awkward postures requirements will also reduce the worker's fatigue and permit high recurrence tasks to be performed without a substantial increase in MSD risk for most of the workers. Using mechanical assist, counterbalance systems, adjustable height lift tables and workstations, powered equipments and ergonomic tools will reduce the work effect and muscle exertions. Workers should be trained to use proper lifting and work techniques to reduce the force requirements. Let us understand a very famous combination of title, a good ergonomics is equal to good economics. What do you believe by that? A good ergonomics, if an employer gives a good ergonomics, it gives him the good economics where he could have the productivity for his entire company or a factory or his workplace. So effective injury preventive is soon as, and it's most of the for the company's contribution for any employee, which could go as good economics is equal to good ergonomics, or it could be a vice versa. Let's understand the advantages of this good ergonomics. As we were discussed earlier, you could see the points have been repeated, but this is how the employer and the employee should work together to create the good ergonomics. Lower injuries, you could see reduction in human cost, you could see reduction in the company designing, direct and indirect costs involved, improved worker safety, increased worker comfort, reduced worker fatigue, increased productivity from making jobs, improved product quality of the entire company. Let's summarize the entire module. The ergonomic study in the work environment is the most important study of the current trend. Ergonomic plays a vital role in building a culture of safety, health, and wellness. The physical and psychological factors that affect the individual workers, their workplace, and the immediate environment have direct and indirect effect on the efficiency and the productivity output. So it's very important that every employer should give utmost consideration to the workplace. Studies have shown a corresponding relationship between good ergonomics and the improved product quality. On the other hand, the poor ergonomics leads to frustrated and fatigued workers that don't do their best, less likely to take time off to recover from the muscle soreness, fatigue, and MSD related problems. Prevention is a shared responsibility. When workers see that the company is serious about eradicating the ergonomic risk factors in the workplace, workers' morality will be improved. Thus, this results in the employers addressing the MSD risk factors under their control. Hope you could understand the concept of ergonomics and risk factors involved in the improper designing and its impact on the individual. Thank you.